Hello, my name's Luke, and welcome to Keep A LukeOut, episode 3. Participating in over 80 competitive events in strongman and powerlifting over a 20-year career, founder and owner of the Complete Lifestyle Academy. On today's show, we are joined by Alex Beevis.
Hey, well done, mate. The thing is, these people don't realise that took you 4 attempts just to get those words out. Just here's Alex. Nice to meet you. Let's go.
There we go. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming, mate.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate it. So what I want to do basically, just to kind of explain a little bit about what the podcast is about. So obviously it's called Keep A LukeOut, Keep A Lookout. And I want to get people on the podcast that I'm interested in and things that I can learn, because hopefully that creates benefit to the audience as well, basically. So what I want to do is I've got a list of questions that if there was no cameras and I could string you off for an hour and a half, I would ask you, basically.
Bang them out. Let's go.
So, and we'll go either way. But the point is, these are questions that I would ask regardless, and things that I believe that I would benefit from. And hopefully they'll also benefit other people as well, basically. So that's where we are. So I wanted to start the podcast on a statistic, and it's about America, but I think it's quite relevant to the UK as well. And it's this: in the United States of America, only 1 in every 25,000 people have a six-pack, whereas for context, 9% of households are classed as millionaires, which would equal 2,000 in every 25,000 people. Why is it so hard to be in shape in 2023? And is being physically fit the new status symbol?
To be honest, mate, you lost me there at six-pack. I was like, suck it in. You got to make sure.
The point I'm trying to get at is that, I see people, and it's becoming harder and harder for people to get in shape, basically. And like, I'll give you an example. I was watching a video the other day, and it was about London in like 1999, and people are just so much more skinny than they are now. And why is that so difficult, do you think? Why are people so much heavier on average now than what they were 20 years ago?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll put this in context for you. I had a 2 and a bit hour drive to get here, right? Now, being a man of my age, that means that I need to stop for a piss, right? What else did I get whilst I was in the service station?
Yeah, I know what I would have got.
Go on, what was it?
A Mars bar?
What? You've been watching my stuff. I have a Mars bar every day, right? And I have a Chinese takeaway every weekend, and obviously lots of other stuff in between. But advertising and marketing, I put it down to. I really do. I think we're becoming what I call the Amazon Prime nation, right? You know, everyone wants everything now, you know, and people aren't willing to work for something for now, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like I said, I went into the service station, and I'm, you know, the Mars bars are going, ooh, the crisps are going, Alex, over here. You know, and it is, everything's so easy. Everything's so quick to just grab a Mackie D's, a KFC. You know, every Friday and Saturday night, I get an email, and I'm sure you probably do as well. Yeah. And I'm going to point over to the cameraman over there. He probably does as well. You know, and that is either from Uber Eats, Just Eat, Deliveroo, you know, and probably our phones are listening to this. And when we get off of it and we start scrolling through Facebook, we're going to see adverts for on there as well. So we're just surrounded by quick, easy convenience and clever advertising that makes us think and want that we, you know, a particular kind of food or whatever. Yeah, so I think personally, I think we all know the importance of being healthy, you know, and we all know the difference. You know, a lettuce is healthier than a flipping Mars bar. We all know that. Yeah. But when you've got, if you were to go and look around a boardroom of an advertising and marketing company that are going to be promoting, you know, a particular product, they don't just go, I think we'll try Mozart in the background of this. And I think we'll try blue and orange as the colour. It's not just like a think. These guys have got psychologists that are working in line with current trends and current fashions. And it's amazing that how they can manipulate how people think. Yeah. And then tag that in with a particular time of day. Yeah. I always joke about this, right? So it's not on anymore on the telly, and it saddens me to say this, right? I don't know what camera I should be looking into to say
that
this.
One's
right?
your one. But you can look at any of them.
I'm a massive X Factor fan, right?
Me too. Right?
I love it, and I always watch the reruns of it and stuff. And I remember coming into the adverts of X Factor, and there was this lady in a bath on the advert, and she's like, "Oh, like this, you should have a Galaxy," you know. Anyway, I was like, "Yeah, I should have a Galaxy." And I looked at the watch, and I was like, "It's about 3 minutes of adverts." And I was like, "How long do you reckon it will take me to get to the shop?" And I slipped on my trainers, ran to the shop, got back again, like choking on this Galaxy whilst X Factor starts again for me to listen to Leona Lewis sing out of Christmas #1. Anyway, I digressed. I forgot what your question was.
No, yeah. So basically, marketing.
I think that's the main thing.
Yeah,
I think it's the main thing.
As I said, I watched on YouTube the other day. It just randomly come up, and there was a picture of. It was like a 2-hour video of somebody driving around London in 1999, and the average person was just so much.
You rewind that again to 1989, 79, 49. You know, and you look at the lifestyle that different people had.
Yeah.
You know, I think you can probably compare to your grandparents, great-grandparents. You know, obesity wasn't really I wouldn't say it wasn't a thing. Of course it was. Yeah. But it was nowhere near as popular as it is now, you know?
Do you think it will potentially get worse as well? As like, say, for example, when you was younger, I'm assuming that you were into weight training young, whereas like kids nowadays, they're...
Do you know what? We're filming this. This is 31st of October. I'm allowed to say that?
Yeah,
right, it's Halloween, right? Yeah. And I was chatting to my daughter this morning at breakfast at what we should get Mummy for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we were thinking of going down the nostalgic route and buying her a SNES.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, come on.
Oh, is it an old games console?
Nintendo 6. Man, really?
No.
Right, I'm getting out.
No, I think that the one I knew was
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, no, that was the one I know is it's got the funny remote like that, and you play GoldenEye on it. That was the first one.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So you're gonna get
anyway. Just estimations. Luke was here.
Sorry, mate.
Now it's down here.
No, I don't remember that. Nah.
You've just lost at least 1,000 followers. You know that? My age demographic has just gone off. Anyway, the point I'm making, right, is that when I was a kid, it was all about. He's just brought a SNES up on the screen there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
That when I was a kid, you know, computer games. Of course, they were there. For me, it was the Sega Master System, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, so on and so forth, right? But ultimately, it was a lot of like football. You know, it was every weekend. It was out on your bikes with your mates. It was playing football. It was, you know, titting about down the river in the fields and stuff.
Yeah. I did that for the record, by the way. I just didn't have a SNES.
But, you know, like as we've got older, kids... more so these days, and we can go down a rabbit hole on this of why kids don't go out and play in the field. Certainly, I wouldn't let my daughter go to the local park on her own for obvious reasons, right? Because of the weirdos. Yeah. But still, life is just becoming a lot less active, you know. And I think sometimes we feel like we're doing our kids a favour for giving them those headsets, you know, that are like, you know.
Yeah,
what are they called? VR. That's it. I always want to call them UV headsets. Like, that's dangerous.
You're showing,
I'm showing my age now. But yeah, that's a massive factor, I think, of you know, of obesity, and how things are kind of going that way.
When did you? And I get that. When did you first? What's your first memory of lifting weights and training? Like not just football, but actually going down the gym and lifting weights.
I got a set of Argos, like they're like concrete wrapped in like some shit plastic, you know, and if you left them for too long, they would just disintegrate, right? And I got a set of them when I was about 13 or so, because I'd always liked watching The World's Strongest Man. You know, I used to tell my mates that my dad was the world's strongest man because he could open a bottle of Coke with like two fingers, you know. But no, I was really lucky in the school that I went to, and it wasn't a great school, wasn't a great area, but it was one of these schools that's kind of sort of semi-attached to a public leisure centre that had like a little gym in it.
Yeah.
And the PE teacher there was, every kid I think has one teacher they just click with for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And me and a group of mates, and funnily enough, most of this group of mates from when we were like 13, 14 are still in contact now. And most of us even went down the same career path.
Wow, that's interesting.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And he said, at lunchtimes, if you want, you can come in and use some of the machines. And we did. And, it started to become rather than playing football 5 days a week for an hour at lunchtime, it was 1 day a week. It was the weights, and it was 2. And before we knew it, we were 15, hitting the weights 5 days a week at lunchtime, coming back into class, like showing the girls our bicep veins, and stuff.
Amazing, though.
So that's probably the earliest memory. It was good.
Yeah. So do you think that if there was a history teacher that would have liked you, and they would have prioritized, or a maths teacher or something that would have liked you, do you reckon you might not have gone down that route? How much do you think it was down to that?
Who knows? I think teachers, this is another, we could go down another rabbit hole here, but teachers are, if someone isn't inspiring you.
That person clearly had a big influence on you there.
Big time.
And if your other friends have also gone into that profession, clearly
on
them as well. So.
Yeah, one guy, we actually went, and one of our first gym jobs was in the same gym.
Yeah.
One of the other guys, one of the first leisure centre jobs that we had, we were there together. And one guy I played tennis with for a while, and he went off. He even went to Wimbledon.
Oh wow!
One guy turned into a pro footballer. Went off abroad. So yeah, there's definitely something there, isn't there?
I remember I'm from a town in Wiltshire, and in Wiltshire, it's like being strong is like the ultimate street cred. Basically, it's like, and I'm sure it is in lots of places, but like particularly in Wiltshire, it's like being able to do fighting and being able to lift stuff. It's just like the ultimate street cred. You could have a sports car, no one cares. It doesn't mean anything. But if you can bench press, it's like, And we all got into it. I got into it when we all had our mopeds and we would drive to the gym. And I remember we were so like skint because we were young. The gym membership was £25, and my friend would I'd have to break my friend in to the gym at the bottom, and he'd run in the back and the alarm would go off. But what I was trying to get at is that when you're young training, those endorphins you get, it's like a massive buzz, isn't it? And it's like, it's a positive loop. And maybe, I don't know whether this is right, but I'm assuming like when you start work and you stop getting that positive loop, is that partly the reason why people find it hard to get back into it, maybe,
Yeah, I think there's a number of reasons, isn't there? Certainly for me, and the rough age of the person that I tend to work with is that they've tried certain things. Most people get into something because they're in a point of pain, I call it.
Yeah.
Right? Emotional pain, maybe a physical pain as well.
Yeah.
And that could be anything. They just don't like the way they look, they don't like the way they feel, maybe there's a health condition.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be in that point of pain. So the way I explain it is, if you go and flick your kettle on, stick your hand on it, you're going to go, oh shit, you're going to pull your hand away. Yeah. It's hurting. You don't want to be there, so you come away from it. So when you're in a point of pain, people want to come away from that as quickly as possible. So they want to get very quick and fast results. And when you first start going to the gym, like you said, you start to feel good from it. This is good,
Yeah, I used to love it.
But if you're always doing the same sort of thing, and you're kind of going in with a little bit too much guesswork, those results are going to eventually slow down. Then they're going to stop and potentially even go the other way. So what do you do then? Would you want to carry on, using your time to do that when something good's on the telly or it's raining?
Yeah.
And people then, exactly. You've got loads of other things you could do that are going to give you a reward. If you go out drinking, all right, you come back a few quid cheaper, more skin.
Yeah.
But you've got a result at the end of the day. You went out to get pissed, you had a good time, you're laughing, and there you go. There's the result.
Yeah.
So people want to do something, get a result, and then you no doubt keep drinking the following weekend.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the training. So yeah, we tend to work with people that have kind of got to a point where they've tried something, got some results, but then failed and stopped.
Yeah.
But then they've increased their body weight, their health has decreased, they start to feel worse about themselves, and they repeat the cycle, albeit probably different things, different personal trainers, different gyms, different diets. And eventually they're like, I need some proper professional help. And they come to us.
Yeah, nice.
And we take that guesswork. Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
People come to you in that point of pain, having tried everything, think there's no way they can change. They think they're a lost cause.
Yeah.
And then we take the guesswork away, make it completely realistic, going back to the Mars bar a day and the Chinese takeaway every weekend, and realise that you can actually have the best of both worlds and continue going because you're continuously getting the reward.
And you're back to enjoying it again like you did when you was younger.
If you're always getting something out of something that you wanted to get out of it, why would you ever stop?
Yeah,
you wouldn't, would you? It's, if you're always going gambling and you're always coming out and you're always winning, you're going to always want to keep going, aren't you? Because you're always adding to your pocket. It's the same thing.
when did you first know, like, because obviously you've got a background in, and we'll go into it with the strongman and powerlifting as well, which I want to understand the difference between them. But when did you first know that you were strong though? Because obviously away from your business, you're also like, it's great that you do a business in that, and that's fantastic. But obviously at some point you must have had a natural aptitude for being strong. So were you when you all started at the gym together, were you strong straight away, or were you noticeably?
No, not at all. And you know what? Like I said, when I was a kid at school, honestly, I think the machines now, that the entire machine I could lift with one arm. Do you know what I mean? They were real toy town kind of things, you know?
Yeah.
Great for Joe Blogs.
Yeah.
You know, they want to pay that typical leisure centre, keep fit type of membership.
Yeah.
But I do remember one of my first jobs was working as a lifeguard. And from there, it's cool, isn't it? It's a good job.
Great,
I thought it was wicked.
Yeah.
But from that, I was able to dip my toe into different areas, and I became a football coach, a badminton coach, a basketball coach. The list goes on and on and on, because they would just fund you to run kids' parties, you know?
Yeah.
But one of them was to become a gym instructor. And I went into the gym first ever time and had my induction when this was a thing. You know, you had to have an induction, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember one of my mates was the gym instructor, and he was laughing at me because I think I was only bicep curling the 6 kilo dumbbells.
Wow.
Right. So I remember, no, I wasn't strong, or certainly I didn't have the willingness to apply myself to be strong. Yeah. And that's a real difference. You know, if you can apply yourself, you can achieve a hell of a lot more. Anyway, this leisure centre gym, they went up to 25 kilo dumbbells. Yeah,
which a lot of them only do, don't they?
Back then, that was the standard. You want to go any more than that, you had to go to a specialist gym.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I got towards being able to lift these 25 kilo dumbbells in different planes of motion, they ended up buying in 27s, 30s, and 32s.
Yeah.
Literally for me and my friend, we used to train together. And then when we started to be able to do those for multiple reps and sets, we thought, right, we're going to have to move gyms. But when we first joined that gym, we looked at these guys that could lift these large weights, or certainly at the time looked like large weights.
Yeah.
And because they were in a stringer vest and to us appeared to have muscles, we thought, well, we must be pretty strong. Like, we must have this kind of inner gift. Then we moved to it's called the Bob Prowse Health Club, and Dave Prowse was Darth Vader.
Okay.
Right, so it was his brother's gym.
Yeah.
Not that that's any way relevant. And we went in there, and I remember my first day walking in there. This was like, Kent's gym. If you wanted to be big, if you wanted to be strong, that's where you trained.
I imagine Kent's one of them places as well where it's like a big state. It's like being strong is a big thing in Kent, I think, isn't it? Same with like boxing as well.
Yeah,
it's a big boxing
lots of nightclubs, in Kent, certainly in Maidstone, because that was where I was from. It was it was the county town of Kent. And I remember walking into one of the change rooms, and as I opened the door, a guy came out, and I just remember just walking in and being like head on with his chest, and just thinking, oh my God, I am now a little fish in a big pond. But the same thing happened. Me and my mate, we trained. We became pretty well known, in that gym for being, these guys that were pretty strong. And in this health club, I've still got the hoodie now. It's all torn to pieces with all these sponsors on it. They developed a powerlifting team, and it was from that gym that I went into powerlifting. Me and my friend rocked up at our first competition.
You started it.
Yeah, effectively, I suppose you could say that, then, sort of life moves on, and we moved on to different gyms and stuff, but that was where it all kind of started, really, yeah.
How old were you there when you first did your first powerlifting competition?
1998.
Wow.
So, what was I? 16?
Yeah.
Something like
wow.
that. Yeah.
Oh, very early then.
Yeah, in the juniors, yeah.
So what's the difference between powerlifting and strongman for people that don't?
So powerlifting.
I don't know the difference.
No, it's cool. There's the real common misconception between weightlifting, Olympic lifting, strongman, CrossFit, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But no, powerlifting is 3 lifts generally in a full competition: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. Okay. And basically, it's 1 rep max. You literally lift as heavy as you can from A to B.
And okay, so that's powerlifting. And then what are those 3 things? Are they chest press? Would you say
so
squat?
Squat to start with.
Squat.
But the rules are very strict. So for example, with a bench press, a lot of people know the bench press, right?
Yeah.
You're laying on your back, you unrack a weight, it comes down to chest, push it back up again.
Yeah.
But you would have to unrack it and be told by the judge when you could start lowering it.
Wow.
Because it has to be dead still.
Yeah, and you have to not be using momentum.
No. Then when they say start, you bring it down onto your chest. They have to see the bar is absolutely still. So if that bar's rolling around, they won't say press. So you've got to wait there.
I have to wait on your chest as well.
Until, obviously if you've trained for it, which you learn very quickly, it will be onto your chest. They see it still. They say press, and away you go. But then when you've got it to a full arm's length at the top, when it's still, they'll tell you then to rack. So
you have
you've
to hold
got
it
all
after as well.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So people used to say to me, Alex, what can you bench press? Because it's the typical kind of locker room chat. What'd you bench, mate? What'd you bench? And you'd say the number, and people would be like, oh, was that it? And then you say it's not like bounce off your chest and back up again, or it's not come down to a fist rules. Distance away. Yeah, it's comp rules, judging standards. It makes a world of difference.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah. So that's powerlifting, and then what about strongman? So how because you competed in strongman as well, right?
Yeah.
So what is there, like 5 events for that? 10 is that? Are there?
Yeah, I mean the thing is with strongman, it's it can all change. So you still can have those static movements. In World's Strongest Man, I don't think they've ever done a 1-rep match bench press, but they certainly have done deadlift. We all know the deadlift. The bar's on the floor. You pick.
I love watching World's Strongest Man.
Yeah. So with the deadlift, a lot of the time in strongman, it's just about how they can just be. I nearly swore then.
You can swear.
It's just that they can make it as awkward as possible. In my opinion, that's what they try and do. So
it's odd, isn't it? Like they have to lift if they have to shoulder press, they're doing a wooden.
Yeah, it's like a log.
Yeah, log. Yeah, sorry.
So the handles are this way.
Yeah.
As where conventional gym machines are all this way, and it's just it's not like a clean where you clean it up like you would do a barbell. It's got to be a roll and a flick, and it might be an axle, for example. So rather than being a standard sort of 2-inch diameter of a barbell, it'll be like a 5-inch barbell. So you can't even get your thumb round.
You almost can't practice on it maybe in normal gyms as well.
Well, it's standard gym. No, standard gym, you're not going to get that. So we would have to go somewhere relatively specialist or treat yourself and get something yourself at home. But even the moving medleys, so you'd have maybe 25, 30 meters where you'd have maybe 5-6 objects here that could be a sandbag. Now a sandbag that could be full to the brim with sand. It could be ever so slightly short of it, and it's flopping about. It could be an anvil, it could be a keg. It could be all sorts of things. You've got to pick it up, leg it, dump it, come back in. So you've got that cardiovascular, you've got the agility, you've got the flexibility, mobility, as well as just brute strength as well.
Yeah. Is your average powerlifter more? Is your average powerlifter heavier than your average strongman?
It's you generally will have weight categories.
Oh really?
Nice. I'll see if I can get this right. So in powerlifting, depending on the federation, because obviously you've got different feds that have different rules and stuff, but usually it's what's classed like the super heavyweights would be 125 kilos and over.
Yeah.
Then you've got under 120s, under 105s, under 93. This is kilos. Yeah. Under 93, under 83, under 73, under 66, and I think for men it probably stops there.
Yeah.
So there's all those different categories.
Nice.
And I think strongman will have a very similar kind of sort of system. It would be unfair, wouldn't it, for someone like a name that we probably all know, even in 20 years when this podcast is still being listened to.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Hathor Bjornsson, Eddie Hall, all these people, Brian Shaw, they're all like 200 kilos in body weight and up.
Yeah.
It's not really fair they get to compete against, your little mate down the road that's 66 kilos that's, dominating his class. They wouldn't be able to compete together. It would be completely ridiculous. So
it's a bit like bodybuilding to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, you've got your categories.
Just category bodybuilding. I'm assuming that because obviously I know you've participated in bodybuilding as well for a period. So
long time ago.
Yeah. So with bodybuilding, did you have like the reason why I'm asking about the bodybuilding in terms of a hero is because I don't know. I'm just assuming that more people are more likely to have resonated with bodybuilders maybe than with like strength trainers and powerlifters. Yeah. But did you have a hero growing up as a bodybuilder? Like in terms of someone that you looked up to?
Yeah, probably Wonder Woman.
No, but I mean,
no. In all honesty, look, I grew up in the era of action movies. You know what I mean? We're talking like growing
Proper.
up proper through the 80s. Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Van Damme. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And, you know, I suppose really when you look at any of those action films, effectively they're all bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know? But in terms of actually looking on stage at on-stage bodybuilders, one of the best books, and I would still recommend this to anybody now. You almost need to be a bodybuilder to own it because it's massive and heavy. It was called it's black and grey. It's called the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding.
Oh, wow.
It's about 25 quid. Always has been about that price.
Yeah.
But it goes through everything, right? From the history of bodybuilding, loads of exercises, routines, you know, how to tan, diet. It's brilliant. It kind of just covers everything in, you know, a sort of an overflow, like a bit of a skim over kind of version. It's nothing is totally, he's got it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Play to him. Yeah. You know, nothing is gone into in fine detail, but it's enough, you know, for you to make a difference.
A lot of people could learn a lot from that now, I bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, so Arnold Schwarzenegger was obviously in many, I think his name sometimes is kind of just chucked around and almost joked at. But that guy's dominated 3 different careers in his life.
He was an animal.
Absolute legend, you know. So he was great. You know, I used to like Lou Ferrigno, who was the original Hulk. Going back even further, Franco Columbo, that was Arnie's training partner.
Was he a smaller man?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I personally think he had better physique.
Yeah. Arnie used to train with him and he used to say he had it. Yeah, I remember seeing something about that. Yeah.
And there's another guy, Frank Zane, as well. I used to think had an amazing physique. But, you know, that things move on, you know, and people now talk a lot about Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman.
There's that. Who's Mr. I can't remember Mr. Olympia at the moment. He's called,
it's not Phil Heath, is it? He's
no, there's another one. Mr. His name begins with a C anyway. But yeah, my favourite person that I loved, because I love watching the training videos on YouTube and all that. Yeah. I'm sure everyone's watched them.
Of course they do.
But I loved Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, he was just an animal. I mean, it's a shame to see what Ronnie's like now in terms of his health and stuff. But Ronnie was just a monster, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think they'll replicate that.
No.
I mean, from the interviews that I've seen, the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff weren't really a fan of that physique because it almost went too far.
Yeah.
You know, and athletes were being in real bad health conditions afterwards because they took things so far.
Yeah.
Excuse me, in the terms of their drug use, in terms of their dehydration, to just be able to look like that anatomy chart. But, you know, whether it is right or wrong to look at someone who's taken their physique to something that an alien would be surprised to see that, you know?
What was so cool about Ronnie as well was he was a police officer up until
in Texas,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Imagine that, getting pulled over by that.
Yeah.
Sorry, officer. I won't do it again.
It's when you see him now, it's heartbreaking, really. But so Ronnie probably could have been a powerlifter as well, right? Because
he was
like freak.
He was to start with.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes sense.
He was a strong dude.
So he built a good base, maybe, and then
a lot of powerlifters make that transition. You know, they get you lift heavy weights for long enough, you end up building some nice, mature muscle, and you know. I mean, look, injuries are, and I'm sure that's probably one of your questions.
Yeah, I've actually got a question.
Yeah,
on
I thought
injuries.
so.
Yeah.
Injuries are obviously quite high, certainly amongst the amateurs, because you don't have the intuition to think about tomorrow, you know, and think about next week, next month, the next competition, the next payday.
Yeah.
But yeah, the amount of injuries you pick up, certainly as a powerlifter and as a strongman. I mean, I don't remember not being injured.
Really?
Honestly, probably since 2001, 2002, I don't remember not feeling a pain.
Wow.
When this will lead me on to some problems with my own personal health, with medication that I was not, unbeknown to me at the time, addicted to. But yeah, so when you're lifting like shit off heavy weights all the time, and you're always working towards that next competition, of course injuries are going to happen.
You can't. I suppose you have to just forget they're there, don't you?
The uneducated exerciser's mind would absolutely go for that, and I did that too.
Yeah.
Or you find something to find a way around it.
Yeah.
So that's why bodybuilding can actually become quite attractive, because you no longer want to have a gut, because a lot of powerlifters will have a gut, you know, because they're eating a lot. You know, you're competing to the top of your weight category all the time. You don't want to be.
You don't want to be light in your weight category because.
Yeah, exactly. You're competing against bigger boys. You know, bigger boys will always win, won't they? So yeah, you know, so bodybuilding can be quite attractive because don't get me wrong, you're still training at an incredible intensity to achieve incredible results, but you're not necessarily lifting through a range of motion that perhaps maybe your body isn't necessarily used to. You can manipulate stuff. It can be a bit lighter. You can you can train around injuries. I think you've got a lot more scope to do that, you know, than just if you're squat, bench, dead, squat, bench, dead, squat, bench, dead over and over and over, doing it all to comp standard. Something's going to go eventually. Yeah. And for most people, it does.
Overuse.
Repetitive, isn't it?
Repetitive, yeah. So obviously that's one part of your life, which is a career in its own right. And obviously you've got your business. So I've seen online, I don't know, 100 transformations, you know, loads and loads of transformations, and they're brilliant. Some of them are like jaw-dropping as well. Some of the transformations. But one thing I've seen with the pictures that I've seen with the transformations is how much happier people look. Forget about losing weight. You know, I seen a lady the other day on your page, and she looked 10 years younger. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
And yes, she had lost weight, but she actually looked like her face looked so different, and I thought it was amazing. But what I wanted to understand is in the Complete Lifestyle Academy program, when somebody signs up, because obviously they're gaining your knowledge, which I understand, but it's not going to be, you're not going to become a bodybuilder or a strength athlete, but obviously you tailor it to suit them. But what does somebody get with that program basically when they sign up and come on board with your business?
I mean, I could sit here and tell you, I'd happily talk all day long about what that program does. It is realistic and it's sustainable. Like I said, you know, a few minutes ago, you know, most people have attempted weight loss or attempted a journey into feeling and looking better. And ultimately, in the long run, they failed because they may have achieved the result for their holiday, for the wedding, etc., but have they kept that result? No. So they're forever yo-yoing, not just in their weight and in their health, but in their mental health as well. So when they come to us, it's an elite level of accountability. It's a world-class level of support, as well as cutting the crap. You know, we were chatting before we hit record, right, about how much just bullshit there is and how much little snippets of information, how many people are chatting online when they're not even qualified. Yeah. You know, and that, you know, if you go through my social media, don't get me wrong, you're going to see the odd photo of me top off on holiday or, you know, where I've had a professional photo shoot. Yeah. But otherwise, why would I go into a standard gym and take my shirt off and have a workout? That's what? Do you know what I mean? What's all that about? You know, I'm not a shaved chest and Colgate smile kind of guy. When I say I have a Mars bar every day, well, I'm actually going to tell a lie. Today on the way up, it was a Twix. Okay, fair enough. But it was the Twix Duo, you know, the big ones. Yeah. You know? No, it wasn't a white one, mate. Not common.
I fancy one of them.
But, you know, it's understanding. The main thing that people need to do is to understand what's realistic and what's sustainable for them in their life. Yeah. So if you go and do something like and I'm going to try and say what it is without saying what it is, a program that watches your weight and you get weighed in every week for £4.50 and then get told by Sue, who isn't qualified in any way, shape or form, why they have or haven't lost weight, that doesn't help. You know, public embarrassment in front of a group of 30 people. Or if you're going to a club that helps you to slim and it tells you that eating pasta is a sin. What the sin? Who are they? The Pope? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is wrong. People shouldn't be told this kind of stuff. As I said before, you know, we've got advertising and marketing is almost what makes the world go round. Yeah. It forces us to buy things, look at things, you know, even this that we've got here, people will be attracted to that visually and will want to find out more because of it, or because I'm wearing a Ralph Lauren shirt and you're wearing an Yves Saint Laurent shirt. People will switch on to that. Yeah. And it manipulates people. So what they're getting to know through me is how to create a structure and a routine that they had when they were a baby. You're born, you know, mummy wipes your bum, mummy feeds you at this time, she puts you to bed at this time, you go to school at this time, you have an English lesson at this time, a PE lesson at this time, an after school club at this time, and that you follow some sort of structure and routine right the way through until you're 16 or you're 18, you get some kind of qualification. So there you go, routine, result, right? and that's how we live our life. Then you get the result. Then what happens? Then you're earning your own money. Then you've got your own house, and the choices and the routine become a little bit different, and you start to gain weight.
Interesting.
How many people do you know from when you were 16 are in the same shape then?
No,
now?
Very, very few.
Very, very few. Some people have gone down a
yeah.
professional sports career or whatever, and obviously are, but the majority of us, we find beer, we find the opposite sex, we find takeaways, we find comfy settees and whatnot, and life goes down a different road. And that's the way it is. So what they're getting with us is a structure built back in again that suits you. So you could be, let's just use a man for as example, right? You could be a single man. You could be a single man with a girlfriend, or you could be a married man with 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 5 kids. Yeah. And then you could be a shift worker, or you could be someone that doesn't work, or you could be someone that works from home, or, you know what I mean? And so every single person is totally unique. That's before we look at your age, your sex, your height, what sort of activity levels you've got per day. So the calories you're going to need are going to be so different to someone else.
Yeah, I get it.
So this whole kind of just come and have 3 shakes a day with this herbal lifing type, you see what I'm doing there? You know, or this plussing juice type thing. It will work for you in the here and there. You know, they do just like, what's that paint? Ronsil does exactly what it says on the tin. Absolutely does. But how long is it going to last for? And this is where people become a little bit gullible. We know I said about that point of pain. Oh, I don't want to be in a point of pain. So they do something that they see through advertising and marketing. The Kellogg's Special K advert's a great one. You know, a lady, she's got lovely glossy hair. She's got lovely lipstick on. And she goes, I'll have this bowl of cereal, maybe a strawberry. You know, and she dives into the pool, comes out the other side, and their kids are smiling. And she sees her husband, they have a warm embrace. And it's like, that ain't going to last, mate. You know what I mean? The truth of the matter is you're going to come downstairs in a dressing gown with your hair all over the place, eat a strawberry that's off and spit it out, and the dog has it. Your kids are going to come downstairs, Mama broke my iPad, and the husband's going to be farting on the settee and scratching his ass. That's real life. Do you know what I mean? So what they get from us is a structure and a routine that is so unique, so bespoke. Every single human being that we work with,
brilliant.
It's tailored to them, their likes, their dislikes. We're never going to tell someone that you can't eat this or you must exercise like this. Yeah. Because if I gave you something now that you didn't want to do, how long are you going to do it for? Well, or you'll tell me you've done it when you didn't.
Well, you're very big, so I'll do it whilst you're here. But when you leave the room, I'd probably stop doing it.
See ya.
But no, so I mean, the key is basically trying to re-find people's passion that they used to have maybe years ago for just naturally being healthy and getting back into a routine.
Do you know what? You have to make sure you listen carefully when I say it, right? It's about finding someone's anchor, right? So if you apply to work with us now, we get 5.5, at the moment in 2023, we get between 5.5 and 6,000 applications every year to work with us, right? I probably only take 200 of those calls. Because if you say to me, you want to lose a few pounds or a couple of stone because you got your holiday or your wedding, I'm not working with you because I know it ain't going to last. And I know that, you will be one of my before and afters. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah. But then what about the after? Do you know, where in 6 months' time you're like, oh, what a brilliant holiday I had in Benidorm. You know what I mean?
To be in good shape.
So I don't want to work with people like that. I want to find the real reason. This is why probably I'd say 30% of blokes that get onto a call with me end up crying on that call.
Really, yeah.
Only last night, I very nearly ended up in tears myself talking to this guy.
That's nice they can open up with you.
Yeah, because you have to build that trust. If you're going to work with me, you're going to invest your hard-earned cash into changing your life forever. We need to make sure there's a reason for it that you ain't never going to go back. Yeah. You know, and so realistic, you're never going to go back. And a lot of the time, it's because of, well, for me, I got diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. I was not far off 25 stone. Albeit, yes, I was an athlete and I was massive and I was strong, but I was eating 8,500 calories a day of shite, you know, to get me to that big, to be able to lift that amount of weight.
That's 5 stone heavier than Tyson Fury. Put into perspective.
You better watch out.
Yeah, no,
Tyson,
but he's 20 stone, so you were 5 stone. Yeah. You're 20%.
And bearing in mind, I'm probably a foot shorter than him and all.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's heavy. It's a lot of mass.
But yeah, for me, I had to look. If it hadn't been for my daughter, I would have carried on. I would have carried on. Fuck it. You know, I would have carried on and probably ended up killing myself through doing what I was doing because I loved it. But I looked at my daughter that was about 4 at that time, and I was like, yeah, you need to see me walk you down the aisle. You need to see me be there and support you through your first day at secondary school, your first job. And, you know, like they say, your life flashes before your eyes. Her life flashed before my eyes. My wife's eyes, you know, life flashed before my eyes, so on and so forth. And that was my anchor. And I lost, from my own program, effectively, 10.5 stone in 14.5 months. Wow. And touch wood, whatever, you know, I've pretty much kept near enough all of that off, and probably given myself back a hell of a lot of years back on my life because I had the anchor. Yeah. So if someone's listening to this now, I want to get in shape, and
the expertise to be able to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then I think it isn't. Personally, I don't think it is expertise. I think it's just the application of common sense. If you've gone down the road of, fair enough. I refer to a fly buzzing around a window. Right? How many times you've been sat in your dining room and you hear this bzz, dunk, bzz, dunk, bzz, dunk over and over and over, and you're like, come on, mate, look up. I've opened the window for you. Fly out. So it's about continuously making the same mistake. If you're always applying the same thing and getting the same result, which isn't what you want, you need to change what you're doing and do something that is realistic and is sustainable. So yeah, my point being is, yes, people get structure, they get routine, we give them recipe books. We're in touch with them every day. You know, all of this. I was
going to ask that. Is there a regular? Because I feel like that would be something that would really help a lot of people. Is being able to have someone they can talk to regularly. It's
accountability.
Yeah. You have that inbuilt in the program.
Yeah. First couple of weeks, we're in contact pretty much every day.
Yeah, that would.
We're in contact with them. They have like a check-in form they have to fill in every week.
Yeah.
We have a weekly group Zoom call.
Yeah, brilliant.
They have what we call accountability pods. So we match them up with people, and they have a little WhatsApp group.
Wicked.
Our staff jump into that as well and keep them going. It's like,
so they get like a social. They get
like and then we have live events as well. Yeah, you know, nice. we did one a little while ago where we hired out this 12th century monastery, right? Like completely irrelevant to health and fitness, right? But we had in at the time they were Great Britain's most popular medieval reenactment company.
Yeah.
So they came down. They taught us how to sew, how to cook, how to use axes, swords, and shield. It was wicked. So we had about 120 odd people come all the way down there to where I live. Some people had even flown in. That's amazing. Whatever. And it was wicked. And probably most of those people that were there are still with us now.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Because it's about, if you can make something fun, and this is the thing about exercise. If you know you've got to go out, I've got to go out running again tonight. Can't be bothered. X Factor's on the telly, right? Yeah. And you look out the window and it's raining. You're going to do it, are you? Do you know what I mean? How long is it going to be until?
Depends how big your anchor is, I guess. If you've got that anchor,
exactly.
So, because I was just thinking, I wouldn't do it now, but like for example, when I used to box when I was younger, I wouldn't even think about it. I'd be out. I used to prefer running in the rain. I used to feel like it gave me an advantage.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, I had that massive anchor then, which because I wanted to box, I wanted to perform, and
also on that night when you were up against someone else,
gave you an advantage.
Exactly. I wasn't going into one of my strongman comps to come second, was I?
No.
Ever. As much as people go, I'm just there to compete. No, you're not. Yeah. You're there because you want to do the best you possibly can, whether it's first or last. And that's a driver. That's your anchor.
What was the best place to find you online for the business?
Well, anywhere.
Yeah, you're everywhere. Yeah,
we're everywhere. You can't hide. We've got a podcast. It's not quite as flashy as this one. We haven't got chairs like this. We've got my dining chairs.
Yeah, nice. That's good. And
that's called The Real Podcast. That's on Spotify.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of channels on Facebook. You just put my name in.
Yep.
And do you know what? Let's get the jokes out there. Beevis, Beevis. Yeah, it's BEEVIS. Thanks very much. Get it out there. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about, do you?
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
No.
So we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
So if someone puts in the Complete Lifestyle Academy, comes in as well as your name?
Well, now you see, here's a bone of contention. So up until now, that is exactly who we have been sort of recognised as. However, we are noticing that we're getting more and more men either approaching or over 40 than we do anything else. So we're actually moving over gradually to another name, which is called the Everyman Project. And that's going to have its own flashy website and everything's going to be all flashy, but everything we talk about is going to be geared towards men. It's not to say we won't work with women. It's just, if that's what the world is telling us, that, that men want my help specifically, then we'll tailor everything, and we'll start talking about, you know, testosterone, and we'll start talking about hair loss and things that are relevant to you know, to that particular type of person.
So put your name in basically on social media.
Search for Alex Beevis,
and send you a DM, I guess.
Yeah.
Send you a DM.
Send me a DM.
Cool. All right. So what I've got, I've got a few more. I mean, these questions are just pure for vanity for me. Not vanity, like intrigue for me, basically. Yeah. So
you're just trying to get free help, aren't you?
Yeah. So, but well, before I go into that, actually, you mentioned briefly on injuries. So I mean, we spoke about that, haven't we? Really, but you've had. I mean, I suppose you had things with your shoulder, things with your neck.
I'm due a knee replacement.
Oh, really?
That's a nice one. You wait till we go downstairs. You listen to it. That'll put you off your lunch. That will. Yeah. I've torn both my biceps open. That was through pulling a 25-ton lorry behind me. that was mad. Yeah, I've torn this pec. I think it's 23 times.
Oh, goodness.
Of varying gradients. At the moment, I've got a tricep tear in my left tendon in my tricep there, which really irritates you when they're opening doors and stuff. And the list goes on and on and on. Yeah, it's insane.
So you mentioned as well about the kidney disease. I'm just jumping the gun here, but was that from pain medication or?
Yeah, that's from the wonders of ibuprofen.
And really.
Well, they can never say, Mr. Beevis, this is what caused your problem.
Yeah.
But they've put it down to three things, which I think make perfect sense. One is, in all honesty, probably for up until I got diagnosed, probably at least 10 years, I was taking a whole packet of ibuprofen every single day, 7 days a week.
Because of injuries?
Yeah, because I'd have a competition. I was competing at least every 3 months. And you go, oh, elbow problem. Oh, that's all right. I'll just pop a couple of ibuprofen, get through my bench press session. You know, and it would. On competition day, I'd probably do 2 packets.
Wow,
you know,
that's crazy.
You'd have the shits like immensely, and you'd think,
I thought they might do nervous. The opposite. I thought it might do the opposite, where it clogs you up.
But maybe try it, see how you get on. But yeah, that was what they were saying was a big part of it. Obviously, also, I had a weight I wanted to deadlift for this competition, which I thought would secure me the win. And for me to be able to do that, you know, there's an expression called mass moves mass. So I'm 5'10", 5'11". You know, some of these guys are.
You're a good 5'11" though. Yeah, I mean, I'm 5'10". I thought you were, maybe because you're wider, you just have like a bigger.
It's maybe the heels. Yeah, they're not on camera. Look.
I would have put you in 6 foot, but yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so a lot of the guys I was competing against, you know, they had bread rolls on the back of their neck. Do you know what I mean? They were massive, and I was like, shit, if I'm going to win, I really need to become them. So yeah, I started eating more and more and more, and I got up to 8,500 calories a day. I was putting that in every day for about a year. Now, to put it in perspective, a tuna sandwich, you're looking at like 350 calories. So you just put that in perspective of how much. 30 tuna sandwiches a day. 20 I was eating to get the calories there because I was lazy, and also sort of an inner sort of chubster, really. I would be having McDonald's. I would, every day.
Really? Because you just want the calories.
Domino's, 2 for Tuesday. Bosh, done. You know what I mean? That'd be dinner one night, breakfast the following morning. And this was a continuous thing. And when you do that, and a lot of it was shit food, I'm not going to lie, you try and eat 5,000 calories in chicken salad, you ain't going to stop eating chicken salad for a whole day. So there was a lot of shit food. There was a lot of good food as well, but like I'd have like beef stew with loads of dumplings in it, or I'd have a bacon sandwich, but it'd be 20 rashers of bacon in that sandwich,
Wow.
So it was great whilst I was doing it, but that's obviously played a part. And then there's one other thing which they said is called rhambulosis. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but it's quite common in people that go through like major sort of physical trauma. So if you're in a real bad car crash, and all your body gets smashed up, your kidneys basically can't filter the damage that's happened to your muscles.
The inflammation, is it?
Well, it's just the damage that your muscles obviously go through.
Wow.
So you also find it in like endurance athletes. So if you're like say a marathon runner or an Ironman, and what happens is effectively afterwards you piss what looks like Coke, like muddy water. As soon as I did a 405 kilo deadlift, which maybe to some people might not seem a lot, but that was on an axle. So there was no flex in the bar. The bar was this thick. It was a hard lift. And again, I wasn't 33 stone. You know, I was 25 stone, 24 stone.
What's the world record?
500.
Yeah, so it's like 9% less than the world record.
Yeah, and again, you know, they were, you know, obviously like super pro athletes. And this, not that I want to keep going about this.
Is that almost half a ton?
500 kilos off ton, yeah.
So you deadlift almost half a ton.
405. Yeah. So yeah, it was a big lift, and it won me the competition. And that particular competition, it won me the British and the European title for that comp.
Wow.
It was great, and I sort of finished, for me, what was relatively on top. But when I finished it, I had nosebleeds for at least a week. I had a continuous headache for about 10 days. And for about an hour after the competition, I didn't even know my wife's name. I couldn't remember where the car was. No idea where the car was parked. And when I went for a wee, it was literally like I was pouring Diet Coke down the toilet.
That's crazy. So your body's, you've put your body through so much trauma.
Yeah, the kidneys just cannot process it.
Yeah.
And for me, I think all of those things combined, when I went to the doctors and had my next lot of blood test done for my knee replacement, they were like, we're going to have to put the knee replacement on hold for a while because your kidney function has dropped. And then since then, it's just continued to drop and drop and drop. And just recently, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I'm now on the transplant list.
Yeah.
So, yeah, things have kind of taken their toll.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, wow.
Yeah. But, you know,
earn their stripes.
I'm very much like, you know, it is what it is. And it's just opened another, it's opened another door now for me, another opportunity to kind of go, well.
Yeah, people don't have to take it to the extremes you did.
No,
obviously, like being in shape and feeling good about yourself and being confident is not necessarily correlated to being able to deadlift half a ton, is it? Like,
not at all.
But you know,
not at all. Yeah. And I think that's important for people to see that, you know, whether it's me or whether it's someone else, you can use that person to look at in an aspirational way.
Yeah,
not necessarily to achieve what that person achieved. You know, I don't think every runner goes out thinking they're going to compete with Mo Farah next marathon.
No.
Are they? Do you know what I mean?
But it doesn't mean that runners, it doesn't gain and really help your mental health and improve your life if you do regularly do running. But so these are basic. The next part is more me kind of as a wanting to learn. I mean, a lot of it, all the questions are, but particularly these are wanting to learn. So one thing, I mean, I'm assuming that this has been something that you've tracked, but like with testosterone and stuff, how important is, obviously there's an epidemic with lower testosterone now with, I think they say that like people have a quarter compared to their granddads or something crazy like that. Why do you have an opinion of why you think people have lower testosterone now or
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not an expert in this, far from it. But there are links to activity level and testosterone level.
Yeah.
There are links to the amount of lean tissue that you've got and testosterone level.
Yeah.
You know, testosterone is an important, you know, it's an important hormone. And there's obviously people that, well, basically once you hit about 23, 24, your testosterone levels are on a slide, you know, coming down. And I think there's so many things in life that maybe things kind of get confused with or put on a shelf along with other things. If we're immobile, if we're not outside, you know, in the sunshine and doing positive things and moving our bodies and, you know, and if we're always eating shit food, you know, and I'm not saying you have to live like a rabbit all the time and eat fresh, you know, all of these things together, your mood is going to drop, you know, and mood and testosterone levels are quite closely linked. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert in this, but
no, I'm asking you as someone who was a performance athlete, and we all know that testosterone is linked to being strong, right? So you know, I just wanted. I mean, did you when you was at your peak and you was training training at your peak? Did you notice? Did you ever have your bloods taken? Like, was your test? Really
no, I've never had it done.
No,
I've never had it done. I have used Bulgarian tribulus.
Yeah.
And there was another one I used, which is basically that mixed in with something else.
Yeah, it's a booster.
And just whoa, you know, like that's that was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was immense. But yeah, do you know what? Again, I'm going to link this. I think we can kind of point anything towards anything, and we can say, oh, you know, I'm not strong because I've got low testosterone. But I think if we can just put all that to one side and just imagine that blood tests weren't available, it's your anchor.
Habit to get into the right
I remember
thing,
being in a commercial gym on their seated row machine, right, visualizing this truck pull that I had to do, right? So there's a massive rope. I've got 30 meters to pull this truck. I've never considered myself to be, you know, unholy strong. It was always competitive when I was competing. I never dominated anything, you know. But I remember being in this room with flipping Spice Girls or something playing in the background, you know. With this,
you'd like that, wouldn't you?
And I don't mean in person. I mean like,
yeah.
And I'm on this seated row machine, and obviously you're supposed to sit there. It's got two handles. You put a chest on your pad, and you pull this weight in towards you.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, I can't simulate pulling a truck. I don't have a truck. I don't have a massive rope. I can't do this until event day. So I had to get my head in the zone of being able to do this. So I was like, right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and do this seated row machine. And it went up to about 120 kilos or whatever. And I thought, I'll grab it with one arm and did it. And I was like, right, okay, done that. And I was like, right, but I need to get in the zone. That isn't a truck, Alex. You've got to get in the zone. And I remember going to get like another sort of 25 kilo plate, strapping it onto the machine in this commercial gym. And everyone's like, what's this idiot doing? Yeah. But honestly, I could have been anywhere. You could have put me underground somewhere. You could have put me on the moon. But I was fucking in the zone. Yeah. And I was going to pull that with one arm, and I was going to simulate grabbing that rope and pulling myself forwards. And I think it's, you know, a lot of people talk about, a lot of psychologists talk about visualization. And I think you can overcome anything. Your mind is so powerful, you know, in terms of what you can achieve. I've actually got booked a fire walk, you know, where you walk across hot coals.
Yeah.
Because I just want to prove to myself.
You know? That you could do it.
I want to prove to myself I can do it. I've got an ice bath in the garden. You know, every morning I go and sit in it. Fucking freezing.
Do you do it, yeah?
And I don't do it for the health benefits. I do it because I want to prove to myself that I can overcome anything.
They're amazing though, aren't they?
They are. I mean, the health benefits, I'm sure, you know, have got massive lists, and I'm, again, not an expert, not going to profess to be. I didn't get it for that. I got it because I was like, if I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, strip down to my boxers, look up at the clouds and see it raining, and even worse when the wind's blowing. That's hard when the wind's blowing.
Oh.
And I count to 5, but on 3 I'm in. Bang, sat down, arse on the floor, water over my shoulders. I'm sitting there shaking.
Yeah.
And I go, no, Alex, you calm yourself down. Because if you can push yourself through this, you can push yourself through anything.
Yeah.
And there's not been a day since then. Now, many of us are self-employed, right?
Yeah.
And you go to bed thinking whether you're a billionaire, millionaire, or somewhere close or not.
Yeah.
That sits on your mind. You never have a night's rest. You know, it's always on your mind. Since I've been doing that, everything's been so much more manageable.
Yeah,
and I got it from listening to an Anthony Joshua. I think he was being interviewed by Gary Neville. It's called The Overlap.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I've seen
brilliant
it.
podcast.
I haven't
really
seen
well
the
done.
AJ one, but I've seen it.
And he says, what's a bit of advice you could give anyone? And he went, cold showers.
Yeah.
So if you can stand in a cold shower or stand in a shower and then flip it around to cold and just stand there and endure it, it's a real good analogy for anything else in life. And I was like, I like that. And I started doing it. And honestly, I've just noticed everything just seems to be a little bit easier each day.
I've got a membership down the road, and they've got a cold plunge in there. I haven't got one at home, but I maybe need to look into that. But I go through phases where I do it and then phases where I don't. And what I find amazing with the cold plunge is it's a resilience you build up, but as soon as you stop, you lose the resilience again.
Do you know what? Day one, there's a video
interesting.
on my social media. If you scroll down, it's hilarious. Even I look at it now and think, oh, mate, why did you post that? You're like such tit. I did 34 seconds on day one.
Really?
And I was like, no, getting out. And I couldn't even get all the way under. I was up to like here.
Yeah.
Now I'm at 20 minutes.
Wow.
I've got ice in there and all sorts of stuff. And
it's amazing.
No, you're right. Once you stop, you know, I was listening to someone the other day saying something about if you can do 3 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll do 7 then.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of my
you have to build it up, don't you?
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what I did. Every day I
up.
videoed myself just to kind of keep an accurate time. You could edit it and see when my shoulders went under to when my shoulders come out, exactly what the time was.
Yeah.
And by the time I'd done it, my daughter came downstairs and she'd be saying, how long did you do today, Daddy?
Oh,
and I'd be like, I did 5 minutes and 4 seconds. And she was like, what are you going to do tomorrow? I'm like, well, I'm going to do 5 minutes and 35 seconds.
Yeah.
And you know, it just became a little competition. And I think if you've got space for them, you don't have to get an expensive one. You know, I'm pretty sure you could probably make one. In fact, when I was a strongman, I had a customer that was a plumber, and he was in the process of getting me one of these old-fashioned water tanks out of someone's loft, and for me to makeshift that in the garden. But the wife wouldn't have none of it. She was like,
that was before ice baths were cool as well, obviously.
Because they are a bit of a fad.
Yeah.
But honestly, like we're moving house and we've already found a spot for it in the garden.
Wow, that's good.
It's coming with me. Yeah. You know, and the aim is to try and do it every day. You know, and I think the longest I ever did was something like 62 days every day.
Amazing.
And the change was immense. But you know, I'd like to think everyone's got a shower or access to a shower.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
You know, just stick it on cold, give it a go.
Yeah.
See how long you can last.
What about saunas, by the way? I mean, do you use saunas? Are you into saunas? Do you recommend saunas?
I don't use saunas. I've got a funny story though. I used to be a geezer. You know? I used to be a chav. I used to have a gold chain.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in this sauna once, sat forward, and the gold chain's obviously dangling. We were in there with mates, all chatting around, mucking around. And I sat back. Obviously, scarred my chest to hell. Yeah. But do I recommend saunas? If you want, do you know what I mean? I don't really know too much about it. I used to use them before I went on holiday with my mates. One year we went to Ibiza, 2000, Spain World Cup, and we knew it was going to be real hot. I think one day it hit about 44 over there.
Wow, that's cold.
Yeah, it's hot, isn't it? But again, this was the first time I'd been abroad, really.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll acclimatise. So I just started sitting in a sauna for like 20 minutes after the gym and stuff. But yeah, why not? Give it a go if you can. You like it?
Yeah. So a few more things. So what about supplements? Is there any, talking about people spending money and blah, 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 like the supplement industry is, I've got like 10 pots of supplements and I've opened them once and never used them. Like, is there any supplements you recommend? Are there any ones that are useless? No brands particular, obviously, but what's your opinion on supplements in general?
For me, I can't really be asked with it, to be honest with you. You know, like, not like I can't be asked to answer your question. I'm a bit bored now, Luke. I want to go home.
That's honest, though.
No, like, do you know what? People talk about, how many protein shakes a day do you have? And that's a standard question I get asked all the time. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you, like,
I'll
for
have
me?
to delete that from here.
But yeah, it's like, why would you want to have a protein shake? It's not real. You know, it's going to have lots of detriments, if you just keep drinking protein shakes all the time. Personally, I'd rather eat real food.
Yeah.
And that's really where I am these days. At the moment, all I take is I take a kidney supplement.
Yeah. Milk thistle or something like that.
No, that's for the liver, that one, isn't it?
Sorry.
No, I don't even know what this one is, to be honest with you. I just bought off Amazon, thought anything will help. Come on, let's do it. And I use ZMA, which is zinc, magnesium, and something beginning with A. And I used that at night time because someone said to me when I was in my early 20s, "Oh, you should use this." He said, because, I use it all the time. I have 4 hours sleep. I wake up feeling like I had 8. And I was like, I'll have some of that.
Yeah.
And touch wood, I do fall asleep so much easier, with that.
Because zinc and magnesium both help you sleep, don't they?
Yeah. So, there's loads of things you could talk about.
Creatine?
People talk about creatine again with kidney failure. That's not great because that's what the kidney struggles to filter because that's what's in the muscle. That's the waste product. Yeah. For me, things like creatine, it comes with a massive amount of water retention. So what you're going to do is you're going to start using it. You're going to start noticing you're getting a bit bigger. You're going to start noticing you're getting a bit stronger. But you can't be on it forever. Maybe you do 4-6 weeks, let's say, on it. You have to come off. But you've gained 100% of results from that. What you don't know is you're going to lose about 80% of it because it's mainly water.
Yeah.
So what you see is 80% loss. You don't see the 20% gain. So you again go down that kind of psychological yo-yo, which is then, well, what should I use next?
Yeah.
And
next thing.
I've sure
been there.
People are going to argue with that and crack on. That's fine. But that's my take on it. Is you're looking at the bigger picture.
And you're looking for sustainability, aren't you? And if everything
sounds real.
Yeah.
And what annoys me about creatine is the marketing.
Yeah.
I do have a TV. You know what I mean? I'm not like that against it.
You're not a complete caveman.
No. But again, like they'll say on there, you need to load it. You should have 30 3 weeks of loading it 5 times a day. And when you understand what creatine does, it's not in your body long enough to do that. You want to take it as a pre-workout, sort of half hour, 40 minutes beforehand, and that's it. That's another one, pre-workouts. I occasionally will have, if I want to do a real heavy session and I know that I haven't slept very well, you know, and life isn't really pointing towards me having the session that I wanted, either I'd rejiggle my training, stick it in another day, or I'd stick in some caffeine. For me, I like the rain, like energy drinks, like Monster can things. So I'll have one of those maybe, and I'm like an immature child. You know, honestly, I'm just like, you know, you don't want to be around me when I've had one of those. But the thing is, you
use it at the right time.
Yeah, it's not like a daily thing.
Because you didn't have a coffee today.
No,
so
I've never had a cup of coffee in my life.
Yeah, so you're using it, so that's your way of getting you going, and you've used that as a way to.
But you see, what you've got to remember though, and this is the thing when it comes to real life, you stick in a pre-workout, whether it's one of the ones off the shelf, you know, one of these branded ones, or whether it's just, you know, a double espresso, what goes up must come down. And if you go and have a massive workout with loads and loads of caffeine, you're going to, you know, burn more calories. So you're then going to be hungrier. And if you've only then got what's in your lunchbox, you're going to find yourself in your vending machine having something else. So it becomes a complete detriment. Do you know what I mean? And then also, like I said, you know, what goes up must come down. If I go and have a workout in the morning with a pre-workout, and then I'll find myself at 10 o'clock in the morning like this at my desk, you know, then not really giving a very good service to my clients and, you know, and helping my staff out and whatnot.
So use it when you need it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to yo-yo. And most people, I think, if you are a coffee drinker, you don't just have one cup of coffee a day. You'll have, can you hear him? You know, there'll be multiple. Well, that's great, you know, and I think if you can swerve over to that, but you see, people will have these peaks and troughs, and effectively they're living off of caffeine every 2 hours.
Yeah, it's no good.
You know, because your body will start wanting other forms of energy, which usually in the office place is going to be trips down the corridor to the vending machine, and you'll come back with, and all of those little extra calories.
You're not going to come back with a kiwi or an apple, are you? In the office space.
You know, it would be lovely, wouldn't it, if that would happen?
So, I thought this was interesting because this question, and hopefully you'll think it's interesting, but what is something that you know now, I mean, you may have already covered it, but what is something that you know now that you wish you knew when you was younger, either something you wish you always did or wish you'd never done from a longevity perspective, in hindsight, basically? Is there anything?
Yeah. I think I would have put in more time off.
Really?
Yeah.
Train less?
Yeah, I mean, I'm you know, I still train 5, sometimes even 6 days a week. I mean, if you were to count what I do on a Sunday, I take a long walk on a Sunday, you know, a long walk, about an hour and a half or whatever. So some people may even consider that to be exercise. I do that because if I don't do it, I'll irritate people, you know, because I'm, you know, I'll just be like, got to do something.
Like that,
But yeah, I think probably what I would have done is, when I look back at when I was 16, 17, I was pushing it hard. And so was my friend. We're training together, and it was great because we became big, we became strong, and I suppose really it kind of gave me the springboard to kind of where I've got to now. But you know, knee replacements aren't funny. You know, in my 40s, you know, I mean, I'm 30 years premature there. You know, and the back pain and the injuries that I've had. You know, have I sacrificed a social life? I suppose sometimes you might look at it as a yes, because, you know, lots of my friends would consider a social life being a night out on the piss.
Yeah.
And I you know, I certainly did that in my younger days. But yeah, I think if I could go back again and think, you know what, if I hadn't have pushed those calories that hard, if I hadn't have hit that flipping ibuprofen, you know, and if I had have just been a little bit more sensible with my training and trained how I coach my clients, which will be so many weeks where you're pushing it at certain percentages, followed by a week where you're pulling yourself back.
That's really interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before. So my perception is I just destroy myself and then do nothing. Destroy myself, do nothing. But what you're saying is that you can have high intensity weeks and low intensity weeks.
Yeah. And that's how, you know, look, if you were to go in the gym today, for example, and we took you for a 1 rep max deadlift, right? That's going to smash you to bits. You know, And if we then a couple of days, you know, every day now for the next sort of 4 or 5 days, you went in the gym, you did all these hard workouts and stuff. The following 2 weeks, you're not going to be on form, you know, so you're going to start, you know, you're going to start eating yourself up. So if you go back in the gym next week and go, well, that 1 rep max deadlift that I did last week, I'm going to beat that. Well, you yourself, most people probably wouldn't realise that, well, the fact that you did a 1 rep max deadlift last week, you ain't got a chance in hell beating that this week.
Yeah. And then the fact that you tried to, you get despondent, you get demotivated. And
then what happens? Yeah. You know, we go back to what we spoke about earlier on, which was where people sort of falling off, not seeing the results. If you're not seeing the results, why are you going to carry on? You know, oh, it doesn't work. I'll try another diet. I'll try some supplements, you know, and the list goes on and on and on. So yeah, for me, we would effectively, I kind of use, it's a method of training that, you know, maybe people will remember what this is, or they still use it, but it's called periodization. And ultimately, every pro athlete will be following this to some degree. So have you noticed that every time you switch on the Olympics or the World Athletics or whatever, people always seem to hit world records on that day?
Yeah.
Not the competition that they did 3 weeks before, that day. This is because what they're doing is they're looking at, this is the day they want to achieve the greatest result. So everything up until that point is stepping stones, right? And it's not just like, I'll do a bit more, next week I'll do a bit more. It doesn't work like that. You need to recover. So what I use is basically kind of like 3 steps up. So if we were talking about running and you wanted to hit 100 miles on this day, we'd go, well, I'm going to do 5 miles this week. Next week I'll do 10. The week after I'll do 15. But the week after I'll do 7.5.
Yeah, interesting.
So I'm still doing more than I did on week 1, but not as much as I did on week 2. So effectively, it's a recovery week. And if you follow that process over and over and over, your peak week, week 3, will always be every sort of 4th week will become a bit more and a bit more. And if you were to diary that in for the date that you want to be achieving your world record or your personal record, you guarantee it happens.
Yeah.
So when people come to me saying, Alex, I'm 30 stone, but I'd like to be 15 stone. And, you know, I've got my nephew's wedding next July. I can calculate that.
Yeah,
you know, because you follow that reversed work backwards from the date you want to be in shape for.
Clever.
And it is that to me always used to be so complicated. But when you strip it back and you're like, shit, well, that makes perfect sense. Why does a boxer land on that day at that weight, absolutely on point? Not just in terms of their physical ability, but their mental ability, their recovery, their injuries, everything's there because everything is pointed. The same as Formula One, same as football, everything is calculated. And that's what I'm talking about when I say to people, we remove the guesswork. People don't think about things that intricately. But if you can think that intricately or learn things that intricately, the whole process becomes fun because you'll know, well, when you go in the gym today and you do this, this, and this, the reason you're doing this, this, and this is because in 3 weeks' time, you're going to do that. Yeah. And this is the stepping stones to that. And then we do that. 3 weeks after that, we do this. Yeah. And you're always working towards something.
And if people do dip, they're not going to be despondent,
because you're supposed
sad by it because they understand.
You're supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose it gives you, again, more longevity and you've got more.
And that's what I mean. If I had have known that, you know, way back when, would I have achieved more than what I've achieved, you know, in my life so far in terms of the physical stuff? I think, I would have done. Yeah. Because all I was doing before was just going on pure grit and determination, having a training partner that was as mental as I was. You don't meet that many people in life that have got this switch in their head. They can just go, people go, oh, beast mode. You know what I mean? Proper. We would train till nosebleeds, being sick. We'd go mental. Yeah. And I can imagine, that's what kind of took us through. Yeah. So, training's smart. Yeah. Well, lovely to speak to you, Alex. I could talk to you for another hour, but I think we've done enough, mate. Cameron's asleep, look. Yeah. He's got his hood up. He's had a great time. I wonder what the snoring noise was. Lovely to speak to you, Alex. And obviously, just to repeat again, if people want to get in contact with you, it's Alex Beevis on different social platforms. B-double-E. Yeah. B-double-E-V-I-S. And did you say Facebook is the preferred one, or there is no preferred? There's no real preferred. That's where most of the content is most consistent, I'd say. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming today. No, it's been emotional. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. And you've been watching episode 3 of Keep A LukeOut. Thank you very much. All the best. God bless. Cheers.